Welcome to Sipping on Excellence. This is Coach KJ, and I'm here with my man, my dude, the Doc.
And this is where we will be discussing the exceptional that is absolutely attainable. My friends, here's to living that extraordinary life.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yup.
Yup.
What's
going on, bruh?
Oh, it's going down today.
Dude, we had to get started before y'all today because we about to have a good time.
We have half cups.
We about to have a good time.
It's half full, not half empty.
Not at all. Welcome y'all to another episode of Sipping on Excellence.
Sipping on Excellence. I am happy to be here.
It's Coach KJ and Doc. And how are all of y'all?
Not Doc, the Doc. You're special.
There's only one.
There
can only be one.
Well, there's two because there's the other one on Love Boat.
You just, half of our listening audience is like, huh? The other half is like, oh.
Man, used to love me some Love Boat.
Man. Right before Fantasy Island.
Right. Wait for, what's her name? Coochie Coochie Coo.
Oh,
Chara.
Yeah.
That was our porn back in the day.
Right? What's going on, man?
Oh, man, living it up.
Have a good week?
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of. I mean, for all of you out there who've been living in LA, we've been getting these rainstorms.
Oh, man.
That half the state wants to wash off into the ocean.
We've been getting rainstorms, but the rest of the country, oh my gosh. You see in the southeast?
Did you see that huge winter storm that hit them, like Middle America?
Yeah, man.
Middle America.
And they're saying that this weather funnel that just ran through us earlier this week, it is causing all the tornado stuff that's going on in the southeast.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. So we got floods. They got tornadoes now.
But climate change isn't a real thing.
No, not at all.
Not at all, man.
What does that have to do with
Nothing. Nothing at all. Oh, man. You know what? I'm glad we're here today, man. This is going to be a good conversation.
Yeah. You know, I was just thinking, I said the weather, climate change is Santos. I got it honestly.
Except climate change is real.
Yeah.
Ain't shit real about that.
Right, but the people that are saying it is.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That guy.
That clown.
Oh, my gosh. Man. He's the what's wrong with y'all all by himself.
Right.
And
you know what, man? I want to say something because this shit was bugging me yesterday.
Okay.
This isn't a what's wrong with y'all. This is more like a pet peeve. And tell me if this bothers you. I was thinking about it just now.
Okay.
You ever, like, first thing in the morning or whatever it may be, you're getting in the elevator, and there's just random strangers that want to have meaningless conversation with you? Like, they can't ride in silence.
It's that uncomfortable silence.
They
That's
can't
what
ride
it
in
is.
silence.
They have a hard time.
It's like, that's a nice shirt you're wearing. Where'd you get it? What's going on?
It's like when people laugh, uncomfortably laugh all the time. Yeah.
Or I get it when you get in the elevator and you're like, hey, good morning. Mm-hmm. Cool, good morning back. That's not cute for you to just start some random conversation. Man, the weather. Yes, there's weather outside. You know? And people who know me know that small talk is not my thing, especially not 6 o'clock in the morning. You know?
It is not. It's not mine either.
And your need to talk to me because you just don't want to ride this elevator in silence annoys the shit out of me.
You only have 3 floors to get to.
Dude, just stand over there. I'm going to stand over here. I quickly whip out my phone and act like I'm looking at some shit. Knowing I ain't looking at nothing. It's a black screen. Right?
It's like when I'm at the gym, I love wearing over-the-head headphones because people all talk, and I'm like, I don't have to listen to anything. But it looks like I'm involved in my music. Right. I even start bobbing my head.
Right, but
I don't have anything
what's
playing.
Funny is when you got earbuds in, people roll up on you because they don't see it, and I have to go like this.
Yeah.
And point at my ears like, yeah, dude, I'm not listening to you.
Yeah. A lot of times I'm not listening to music. I just put them in just for work. Just so I can work and not they don't have to. They're like, oh, well, hey, I was like.
Mm-hmm. You have every right to ignore them.
What? What?
Right. I don't hear you.
What does that mean? Right. You got to do that off the mic. Right?
Anyway, I mean, yeah, it's just it's some annoying shit, right?
It is. It drives me nuts.
Don't feel that you have to talk to me because we happen to be in the same space. It's okay to be quiet. Shut the hell up.
So it's like the Progressive commercial with the coach, and he works with all these different people that are acting like they're older, and he has a new one where they're actually getting on the elevator. And he's trying to teach them how to just not be old on the elevator.
No.
Like, yeah.
You're talking about the commercials where he talks about you're not your parents or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's got one with them on the elevator.
Yeah, it's like, and there's different groups of people getting on the elevator. He's trying to teach them, like, in the field studies. So it's like, you don't have to talk to everyone.
At all.
You don't have to talk to everyone. Just ride.
Just ride. Just get in, get out. I don't need you talking to me. I'm not being rude,
Bruh.
but we don't have to start a conversation. We're going to be on this elevator for 32 seconds.
That's
if
it.
that.
If that.
It might be 15 if her door happens open.
If you don't shut the hell up.
Right. But anyway, I just need to get that off my chest because that shit annoyed me for a minute.
I know. This neck is annoying me. I'm gonna go ahead and Theragun.
This dude is really popping out a Theragun while we're talking.
No, excuse me. Hypervolt.
He doesn't even know how to turn it on. What kind of trainer is he?
Hypervolt.
Look at that. What kind of coach? Oh, there he goes.
Oh, yeah. What you talking about, Willis?
What's wrong with this dude? What is wrong
that
with
kind
this
of day.
dude? All right, well.
It's that kind of day. We
get
can
it in
do
when
whatever we want.
Got to get it in when you can. Anyway, we're going to, before we get into the topic of the show, we're going to talk about our what's wrong with y'all's. And then we'll get into sort of, just because there's just a lot of shit that's been going on this week that has really rubbed me wrong. And let's talk about first that 6-year-old who takes a gun to school and shoots his teacher. Now, here's what I don't understand. You're going to have these gun rights activists that still will say guns are not a problem.
Right.
So you're telling me in that situation, the 6-year-old's the problem and not the gun that was in his hand or his access to it? How the fuck does excuse my language, y'all, but how does a 6-year-old get his hands on a 9mm pistol that his mama bought? Now, she bought it legally. How does he get his hands on it? A loaded 9mm, bring it to school, know how to point it at his teacher and fire.
Watch too much TV.
And
I mean, look.
And the thing is, okay, watch all the TV you want.
Right.
How does he have access to that gun? What do you do? Now here's the bigger question. Thank goodness, and I'll applause to this 25-year-old woman who was able to get her kids out of the classroom, make sure they were safe, make her way to the administration office before sort of collapsing and going to the hospital. And thank goodness she survived. But how do you prevent that from happening? There's nothing she could have done differently. And
she did. Actually, she went above board.
Right. And this kid,
way beyond.
He's 6 years old. How does he know how to hold a handgun? I'm sorry, TV doesn't teach you how to hold a handgun and fire it.
No.
Let
alone the level kickback, everything that comes along with holding a handgun. 6.
And shooting it straight. I know adults that can't shoot a gun straight. Yeah. And if he points it at his teacher and fires, that was, a body shot?
Have you ever fired a gun?
Shotgun, not a pistol.
Okay, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Tear your shoulder off.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Did it once, and I was like, yeah, I'm cool.
I'm good.
It's
so much power.
It is, and it's like, who's at fault? Like, who do you blame?
The mother.
I think the parents 100%.
The mother.
And how do you punish that? Who do you punish? You punish the parents for sure because you're not in control of that situation. And this is going to be a sticky one. What do you do to the kid who's 6?
Yeah.
Does that kid get attempted murder? He brought the gun to school. Can you say a 6-year-old has intent?
Right. Because he didn't like the teacher?
Yeah. And he brought it to school with intent, and she was teaching. He whips it out and fires it.
Right. 6 years old.
So is that attempted murder?
Right.
A 6-year-old? I mean, how do you wrap your head around that?
You can't, bro.
That little motherfucker could barely walk. How do you wrap your head around that?
Yeah, man. That's a lot.
Yeah, right?
That's a lot. That's a lot to bear. all sides.
When's the last time you heard of a 6-year-old shooting somebody outside of the U.S.?
I mean, the larger implication, though, is the guns rights people. I mean, nobody's saying take away rights. Take away.
Restrict access.
Yeah. What do you think would help?
Well, think about this. I was talking to a friend of mine about assault rifles, right? Mm-hmm. In Israel, everybody has to go to the military at some point. Mm-hmm. They go to the military. These are trained people who know how to use weapons. When they get out of the military, they're not allowed to own assault rifles. So if you get people who are trained to use guns and they're not allowed to own guns, what does that tell you?
Well, I mean, think about it.
And that's not necessary. So we have a bunch of people in this country that aren't trained, and you don't have to be trained to own a gun.
You know, boxers have to register as weapons.
Yeah. If a boxer punches you, that's assault with a deadly weapon.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's 100%. Mm-hmm. Don't you lawyers come at me if I'm wrong, but yes, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
Because the people out there going to come at us like, yeah, I don't know the law. You're right.
Right. We don't.
But you're still wrong.
Yeah. Somebody that can cause a lot of damage.
Their job is to cause damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But only the other people that can cause damage.
Exactly. And so it's like people out there who are still fighting this whole gun battle. I'm like, at what point do you say, look at this shit, man? This shit here is just not, something's wrong. And something's wrong with this country.
I've always had a thought, if you own a gun or if you want to purchase a gun, you need to have a mortgage. You got to have something on the line.
Well, not only that, before you can purchase a gun, you should be forced to have taken classes, et cetera, gun safety.
All of that is a part of it.
Before you're even allowed to own one, you don't go own a gun and then take a class.
Yeah.
The funny thing is the only time you're required to take a class or anything like that is if you want to have a concealed carry permit.
Right.
But you should still have to take a class if you want to own one. That's my opinion. I don't give a shit what kind of gun
definitely.
it is.
I mean, you got to do it to drive.
Exactly. I can't just go buy a car and drive it around legally.
Yeah. It don't work that way.
No. You got to prove that you know how to use that vehicle.
Right.
It's stupid. And, anyway, the other what's wrong with y'all.
Let's get off of that.
Because this shit comes up way more. I mean, it hasn't gone away. People think it's gotten less. Let's talk about police brutality and police brutality towards black folks. So I don't know if all y'all out there heard this recently in L.A., the young gentleman who was in an accident, motor vehicle accident, I believe, and he flags down the police. Mm-hmm. Whatever transpired after that, he ends up getting tased to death, and it's all caught on body cam by the cops. He ends up being flat on his stomach with them on top of him and continuing to get tased with 50,000 volts repeatedly. When he keeps saying, I'm not
stop. It was just repeated.
And he keeps saying, I'm not resisting. Don't move your hands. I'm not resisting. You're trying to George Floyd me, all this stuff. And his hands are behind his back, and they're like, don't move. Well, every time you tase him, his body's going to involuntarily move.
Right.
That's like telling somebody who's been holding their breath not to breathe. It's like, dude, I got to breathe. I'm sorry, I got to breathe. You're shocking the shit out of me. I got to move.
Yeah, your muscles. No, not you got to move. Your muscles move on their own.
Yeah, and it's just how many times you got to shock somebody for them to comply, and he's the one who called you.
Yeah. Didn't they?
He's the one who flagged you down.
He flagged you down.
Yeah.
Because he was in an accident.
I'm flagging you down because I'm trying to commit a crime. That's the dumbest shit ever. So I'd be interested to see what comes out of this, like everybody else's body cam footage, to see how it all started, because we're catching the part where he's on the ground getting tased and he's trying to comply, and there's 4 guys on top of him. There's 4 of you. He's got no weapon. He's not fighting you, and you're tasing the shit out of him. Why? Because you like pulling shit out.
Right.
I'm not going to pull out my gun because that might kill him, but I'm going to tase the shit out of him because why? Because you want to do some dumb shit.
Right.
It's that power trip.
But we walk into every situation as a suspect.
Guilty till proven innocent.
That's right.
All the time.
Every single time.
And it makes no sense. And people are like, things are getting better. No, fuck, they're not.
No.
They're not getting better.
No.
People are just tired of talking about it, but it pops up every day. Every day some new shit pops up with the popo.
Right. And people say, oh, well, they're, especially when police officers are black. They're like, police officers are black. I'm like, he's blue.
Blue first.
Yeah.
And I got nothing against cops. I mean, I just don't like you, but and I should say I just don't like the bad ones.
Yeah. And you know what?
And they're a necessary entity.
Right.
Because people out there do dumb shit every day. But don't take this power trip. Don't use that badge to allow you to do craziness.
Well, think about it. They're technically a double whammy. We just got through talking about gun laws, gun violence. And then you're going into a position where you're supposed to protect. They are not here to protect us. They're here to keep us down. So now they have a gun. So they're a double whammy.
Dude.
Yeah.
It just
you can't
up.
It does, because and it also goes back, and I heard this from a writer, I forgot his name, but amazing writer. He was on Bill Maher one time, and he was talking about laws were created to keep us down.
Yep.
And to protect those. And you know what I mean when I say us and those.
Yeah, and here's another funny thing. How
can't wait.
How what's going on in the world today about, and we're gonna catch some heat on this. Like last previous episode, we talked about value of a man versus value of a woman.
Right.
And the hot topics now are about sort of equality. And people always say that women have it hard and men have it easy. All these police bullshit that we talk about, how much of that is towards women? How often do women
saw that silence?
How often do women get caught up for driving while black? Why is that? And I'm going to tell y'all are going to hate this shit, because black men, or men in general, are perceived as a threat.
Yes.
We're perceived as a threat until we're not. Women are not threatening. It's just the nature of it. And I was watching, it was funny because I was watching this clip, and you may have seen it, where people were really bitching and moaning about things not being equal. Men and women aren't equal, blah, 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 whatever. And right now, there's a big hot topic about transgenders in female sports, whatever. But they were talking about a group of feminists. We're talking about women and men not being equal and how women need equality. And so one of the women asked outright, what barriers are there that you face that in today's society are preventing you from succeeding as a woman? And she couldn't name one. They're like, you can get a job, you can work in corporate America, you can be a CEO,
you can create whatever
you can be president, you can be vice president, you can do whatever you want. So in today's society, what barriers are you facing that are preventing you from being everything that you want to be? The room got silent.
What was this on?
It was I was watching just a snippet of a podcast, and there was like 7 or 8 women sitting there talking.
I think I didn't hear what they were saying, but I saw it.
And that was it. And because they all turned around and started attacking this one woman, and she was like, do you mean and one woman was like, do you mean as a woman or as a black woman? She's like, I'm not talking about, and the other woman who's in a wheelchair was like, you are fine because you don't have to use ramps everywhere you go. And she's like, ma'am, I'm talking about man versus woman. I'm not talking about color. I'm not talking about disability. I'm talking about pure man versus woman. What barriers do you have as a woman that aren't there for a man? And then, of course, another one was like, what do you mean, like a woman or a black woman? She's like, again, ma'am, I'm talking about as a woman, not your color, just as a woman.
Right, how you show up.
She's like, now, you want to talk about race and all of that. It's a different subject. Race has nothing to do with feminism. Right. We're talking about man versus woman.
Right.
And they all got silent. And so it's going to be interesting. I want to have a conversation about that one day and have a guest, a true feminist guest, and be like, I just want to know kind of your thoughts in society today.
Yeah.
You know, because it's different now. And if you say that things have not changed, I'm like, I don't know if I agree about that.
Yeah.
Could it be better? Sure. But
I like the fact that we keep bringing it up to some degree, because when you don't have discussions about it, nothing ever gets solved.
You got to have conversations.
You got to have conversations. It never gets addressed. You don't have to come to this decisive conclusion, but you at least are able to hear the other side. And that's the other problem. No one wants to listen.
People don't want to talk about it, and nobody wants to listen. Like you said, when people have their own opinion, they just want to talk.
Yeah.
They don't want to listen and realize, maybe I'm getting this wrong. That's why this woman who was pointing it out was like, I'm just asking a question.
It reminds me of when you were a kid. It's like, if I want your opinion, I'll give it to you.
Right.
Hey, legit, it stands.
Yeah.
Stands to this day.
Right.
Everybody, and especially, I hate to say it, especially for men, we're giving our opinion, especially as a black man. But I won't say that out loud.
Right. And, you want us to be in our masculine, but yet you also want us to
carry the feminine bar.
Right. And there's, it's such a double standard, and we talked about it before. There's so many things that people want as long as it's convenient and fits their agenda. I want it all as long as it benefits me. I don't want it all if it's negative.
Right.
Whereas men, we get it all, whether it's negative or positive.
Right.
We got to handle all that shit.
The crazy part is, if you were able to listen, your agenda might grow a little bit more. It might be more empowered, might grow greater.
Yep.
Because now you have more people behind you, or have a better understanding, because you're able to share versus spewing, telling, pointing down, kicking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now that we got all that shit off our chest, let's get to the fun topic today. I bet people are wondering, what the hell are they going to talk about?
Right,
today?
exactly. Good Lord. We haven't even cheered yet.
No. Our topic today, we talking about porn, y'all. Yes. Reality, fantasy, how does it affect your life? Does it? Do you watch porn? Do you look at pictures? What do you think of OnlyFans? What do you think of everything out there?
And is porn what you really think it is?
Nobody's buying videos at the video store. It's now all over the internet. And
everything's streamed.
What's considered porn? Who watches porn?
Right.
Is it beneficial for your relationships? We're going to get into all of that shit today.
Yeah.
As much as we can. We're not porn experts, but we're men. We watch porn. So do women. And it's just part of it.
Right.
It's part of life.
Right.
That being said, what's our cocktail today? Because of this,
it's been so long, I forgot what it's called.
Because of this topic, we found a cocktail. It's called Bent Over Shirley.
Yeah. So instead of a Shirley Temple, we got a bent over Shirley.
Oh yeah, and we of course gave it the SOE twist.
Yeah, technically, all it is just a Shirley Temple with vodka in it.
It's vodka. We put a little black raspberry soda in there.
Yeah.
We put a little lemon lime soda.
Yeah.
And some grenadine.
And guzzled it down already.
And it's tasty than a mug, y'all.
Yeah.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Y'all ain't ready for the day.
I feel like Rick Ross. I said, Big Meech, Larry Hoover.
So I think let's start out today. And yes, I'm going to read this because everybody feels they know what pornography is. And we're just going to, shorten up to porn.
It goes right back to the whole giving opinion.
Correct.
Versus understanding.
And so what porn is basically defined as is anything, books, magazines, pictures, anything that causes a sexual excitement and arousement for sexual desire. That's all its purpose of. Writings, pictures intended to primarily to arouse sexual desire. That's what pornography is. Mm-hmm. And so what's interesting is that people have taken the word porn, and have now taken non-sexual things and have given it a sensual description by calling it porn. Like there's games on the phone called word porn. People talk about food and call it food porn.
What was that thing where people will go on and they'll watch people taste food, but they'll listen to the sounds. I forget it has a name, but that's a form of porn as well.
Because it literally stimulates, sort of that part of our brain that causes arousal.
What part of the brain is that?
I don't know, man. I'm not a neurosurgeon. Ask my brother.
You would think I know. I don't know. I can't
remember. Amygdala.
Yeah. The medulla oblongata. I've seen Fight Club way too many times.
But, so then you think, okay, what do people consider porn? And it used to be, the most popular one back in the day, Debbie Does Dallas.
Right.
And you'd think these 60, 70 movies that were shot with 8mm film and that was porn. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was. Mm-hmm. But now you have things like Skinamax at night, soft porn, and the whole purpose is to drive that sexual excitement. Now, the question is, number one, when does it become a problem?
Abuse. Constant. It replaces everything in your life. You lose track of time. You're not able to focus. You're not able to do your lively things. Right. You're not able to explore the rest of your life because you're caught into that moment.
It can become an addiction.
Yeah, because think about it. I was going to say social media.
Yeah.
It's a form of porn.
But true, it can be, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I read at one point in time was how it affects kids, meaning young teenagers.
Okay.
And so what it basically does, you have these, let's talk about boys. Mm-hmm. You have, because it affects men and women differently. So you look at how these 12, 13-year-old boys are looking at porn and they're masturbating to porn long before they have their first sexual experience. Mm-hmm. And so the longer and more access they have to different forms of porn, when they start interacting with women around them, as they get older, they won't be aroused by just that simple interaction. Mm-hmm. And then it's funny. It's not funny, but what ends up happening is these dudes who have testosterone levels of 5,000 are now having erectile dysfunction because they can't be stimulated without porn because they've been stimulated only by various forms of porn as a teenager, as an early in their maturing life.
And think about what they were watching. They were watching adult women at a very early age.
Yes.
So, so your idea, your fascination is created around this image of a woman that doesn't really exist.
Exactly.
She might exist, but in your world on a day-to-day, how often are you going to run into her?
Right. And what you're seeing on porn is fantasy. It's not traditional sex.
No.
And when you speak to people who are in that industry, I know some people in that industry. I've spoken to some women in that industry.
I have as well. Yeah.
They'll tell you outright, in my personal life, I like boring, what people call square sex or boring sex. It's
almost like their level of excitement. To dial down excites them more than to do.
Yeah, like all that shit that they do on set.
Yeah.
Number one, isn't comfortable. Number two, it's start, stop, cut, redo it. You're a robot, so there's nothing attached to it. But when you see the finished product and you're watching it as this young kid, you're thinking, oh, that's sex. That's what making love is, or that's what sex is.
30 minutes, that was actually cut in many pieces put together.
Right. you know?
Yeah.
And these young boys are catching a 5-minute clip because they're not getting through that.
Right, which is a 45-minute clip put together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's one of those things where that's an aspect where it becomes probably detrimental to the sexual development and sexual habits of young people. Mm-hmm. You know, now on the flip side, porn has its place, you know, because it gives adults, whatever your fantasies are, it's good to fantasize. It gives you that escape to be able to stimulate the mind, stimulate the body. And people always throw sort of negative connotations on masturbation. And if most men at some point in time will admit to it, yeah, we do it, so what? A lot of women sometimes won't. And then younger men won't admit to it because they think I'm too macho. I'm not telling you I masturbate. Dude, you do, just for the simple fact that you said you don't.
Yeah, probably more than the most.
Right. And I always say, when it comes to women, if you don't know how to masturbate, go learn and then come date me. Because
you don't know yourself.
If you don't know how to bring yourself to an orgasm, how you expect to teach me how to take you to an orgasm? Because only you know your body.
Right.
Only you know what feels good. Learn how to masturbate. And then whatever tools you use. Now, granted, men watch porn way more than women.
Visual creatures.
We're visual creatures. We like the sight of things. Women are more stimulated by pornographic stories.
Right. Which is why the
books.
50 Shades of Grey did so
Exactly.
well. Yeah.
You know, men.
It was a level of creation.
Men don't care about the porn story. Mm-hmm. Men care about the act. You know.
And which is why, POV became such a big thing. Or what's the other one? Gonzo.
Yeah. But POV became big because that's a man's point of view.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
But when it comes to women, they want the story. They want
a creation.
How did he come to the house? He's the pizza guy. I don't give a shit. Skip that part. Get to the part where you're naked. That's what we want to see, you know? But it's one of those things where I think it gets a bad rap even though it's so prevalent.
And it's becoming very mainstream now.
Oh, for sure.
Especially living in California, you see it so much. So
well, I mean most of it's shot in Valley.
Yeah, and you actually see the people. You know, it's like you
come across them.
Yeah, and there's always somebody to tell you this. If you don't know, somebody say, you know that's a porn star, right?
Exactly. Well, and the thing is,
she's a porn star, right?
And the thing is, too, people don't try to hide their profession anymore.
No.
They're like, I'm an adult entertainer.
Yeah.
Now, here's the question. Going to a strip club, is that a form of porn?
Of course.
Because why?
It's visual, it's sexual excitement. There's it's a litany of things, and plus, you get a little inebriated, you get a little loose, so you're definitely getting more to who you really are.
Right, and people will think, male and female alike, oh, I just dance. I'm not really in the adult entertainment industry. I don't do porn. Well,
yeah, you do.
You do, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just don't like the word porn.
Yeah, but you're creating a level of sex. People go into a strip club, they're already, you know what I mean, as opposed to a video, you sit at home, you're in front of the camera or whatever, you're like, oh, okay, I get to see this, I get to kind of shut it off, nobody, the outside world. I'm letting people know I'm here to get excited.
Right.
Hello.
Right.
Welcome.
And well, here's one of the things that I always found interesting. Would your wife get mad at you for going to a strip club with the boys?
No.
I will never understand why women get pissed off at that. What they don't realize is that he's getting revved up and coming home to you. You know? He's either going to look at it in person or he's going to look at it on his phone.
Well, she wants to go anyway.
Yeah, right? But
one and two, I will never go to a strip club in California.
And for me, and I'll tell you, I'm one of those guys who strip clubs don't mean a whole lot to me. And I'll tell you why. a comedian said it best. He's like, I forget who the comedian was, but he said it perfectly. He's like, imagine you're starving, like you haven't eaten in days. You're starving. You go to McDonald's. You order your food. Everything you want. You order it. You get to the first window and you pay for it. You drive to the second window. They put all your food in the window, open the window, all the smells and everything come out into your car, and you're like, oh, I'm about to grub. Then they shut the window and tell you to go home. That's what it's like going to a strip club. You got as close as you could to that food without eating.
Yeah.
And you still go home hungry as fuck. Right? But if there's food at home, you will ravage that food like none other.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so it's, for me, I don't need that. This is not a big thing. I've been to strip clubs. It's not my thing. I'm cool. Dudes want to be, hey, let's go to the strip club. For what, man? Yeah. You're going to take my money.
It's a whole lot of wasted money.
But, to each his own. Now, here's another question. Mm-hmm. And I can only speak from a heterosexual standpoint. As a man, before your marriage days, if you knew would you date a woman who's an adult film star currently?
No.
Why not? Preference? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could.
I don't think that I could.
What if she told you, I used to be?
Is she used to be? Maybe. I mean, people are going to recognize her.
I'm not worried about that part.
I'm not either.
And so, and it takes us to the part of, I think the only difference between an adult film star who used to be an adult film star and a woman you run into in the street is the adult film star, you have a better idea of her body count. You know what I mean? And so, but that being said, if it doesn't matter to you,
right?
That was her job. That was her thing.
Yeah. And if it's in her past, it's in her past.
And I think the one thing that would get people, that a lot of guys would be like, because it's their own insecurities. Like, she used to take a lot of dick on film.
Right.
I mean, I don't know that I'd want to watch any of her work.
Right.
Because we're visual. You don't want to you don't want to picture that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if she told me I did it in my past, I don't know that I would be like, absolute red flag. She might be starting off a little bit in the negative, but it's not an absolute red flag.
Right.
There's bigger, worse red flags. Could you date somebody who was not in the adult film industry, but say she was a stripper?
Yeah.
I would say I have. And
how was that experience?
I just never went to where she worked.
Okay.
This is when I was in Atlanta.
Oh, well.
And
you tell me that story.
I didn't tell you that story. It was in a very short period of time. But
which club?
I'm not gonna tell you that either. Yeah. No, I'll tell you, it was the Gentleman's Club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that was the upper echelon then.
You think I was going to the booty shack?
Come on, man. I mean, you had Body Tap,
Taj Mahal,
Magic
City.
Yeah, you just don't go to the Blue Flame unless you was ratchet.
Why do we know the names of so many strip clubs?
I know. That's because you know why? They're in every freaking song too.
Yeah,
they're in every single song.
Right. Here's something that we were talking about earlier. We're like, and I'm going to pull these stats up because it was kind of interesting. We were talking about how porn kind of shot up during the pandemic.
Right.
There was a stat that came out that said during the pandemic, when the pandemic first came out, so April of 2020, the amount of people that were subscribing to Pornhub went up 27% that week. Crazy, wow. Right? The first week of the lockdown.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, and that's also because they were saying that Pornhub decided to make everything free for a while. But even when they went back,
because they're not, from what I understand, they're not cheap.
Yeah. So when they went back to the pay model, it still stayed an increased revenue of 18%. Kind of crazy, right? And they were saying when the lockdown happened, they looked at the stats in the UK. 50% of adults in the UK were watching porn on. I mean, that's a high percentage. That is
a very high percentage.
And I'm guessing it's probably more than that. The 50% are the ones that admitted to it.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just, I found it interesting that people, when they're home, nothing else to do, where's their mind going to go? Especially when you're isolated and you're not interacting with people.
Yeah.
So.
Or think about this.
If you're a single adult.
Yeah, I was going to say single adult, but also think about those people that became very COVID freak. You know what I mean? Especially when you're looking at the end of 2020, especially going into the early parts of 21.
Yeah.
Where people are like, I'm not ready to go outside yet. They immediately, they were isolated.
Yeah.
They only know the voice that's in their head. They weren't talking to anybody
at all. But here's something else that's interesting. As we got through the pandemic, and we like to say that we're on the other side of it now. That usage has not fallen off.
No.
But look at what's ticked up over the last 2 years. OnlyFans. Now, for those of you out there who don't know what OnlyFans is, and you've been sleeping under a rock.
Well, you know what? I just got woke up to that.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell is this thing called?
So OnlyFans is where you can have content creators on, for social media, where they can put subscription. You can have access to their content from a subscription based only.
Right.
Some are free. Others are pay, and you pay a monthly subscription to have access to things that they won't show you on Instagram or are too risque for Instagram, and they want to, or YouTube, whatever it may be, and then put it on a platform where you can pay to see it. And what I found interesting is now, in 1 year's time, it jumped up from 1 million content creators to 2.4 million content creators.
Yeah.
OnlyFans in 2021 had gross revenue worldwide of 4-point-something billion. Crazy, right?
That's insane, man.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Do people look at OnlyFans as being porn? A lot of the people who are on OnlyFans will tell you, "Oh, I don't do porn." And you look at OnlyFans statistics, their site with all of their stats, 98% of what is on OnlyFans is considered porn.
Yeah.
So whether you consider it porn, right, the rest of the world considers it porn.
You are tapping into that side of the brain that says, yes, yes, yes.
And so people are like, no, I don't do porn. I only show my feet. Well, somebody's getting sexual arousal from looking at your feet. That's pornography.
Right.
So we're not saying pornography is negative. We're not saying OnlyFans is a negative thing. We're just letting you know, don't get mad if somebody says, yeah, you're doing porn.
Yeah.
Just own it. Be like, yeah, and I'm making a shit ton of money. How blown away were you by the stats I told you about how much people are making on porn? So we were just looking at like, who makes the most money on OnlyFans? And it shocked us both. We were looking at stats, and in her peak, it was saying that Black China was making $20 million a month on OnlyFans, but, which was wild, does not have the most subscribers.
Right.
Which blew me away. There's a girl, a fitness person, who has more subscribers than her.
Yeah, but she
doesn't charge as much.
So she went from fitness to doing more of the scantily
that was
clad.
Jem Wolfe.
Yeah, she went from doing fitness
to more of the scantily clad pictures, stuff that she couldn't show on her social media. She put on OnlyFans.
Right.
And she's got more subscribers, and built up a huge following. but Black China charges you to see her.
Yeah.
And so with
Everything.
that,
and she has less content.
Yeah.
Well, didn't she?
She has something like 130 posts or whatever, maybe 130 videos, posts, pictures, whatever. That's not much at all, and you're making $20 million a month. You know what? Good for you. You know, I'm not mad at you. You know, but the thing is, people always say they talk about OnlyFans and think, oh, this is just, it's crazy. Why would anybody do that? People are making money. And during the pandemic when nobody's working and you're like, I can satisfy people's fantasies by, I can shoot videos of me eating a banana, eating some cherries, drinking a cocktail, all these different things that people will pay for anything.
Yeah.
You know, you find a fetish and something that you are good at and people want to pay for it. Like I said, all these feet videos are one of the most searched things on the, who would ever have guessed?
Well, I was going to say also, I think with the level of isolation that people have, there's no identity. So when people are forced back into a corner, but why do you think people have such a negative face or lack of connection or understanding about pornography or their own sexual identity? Where do you think that comes from? Where do you think that happens? Why does that happen? Where does that come from?
Well, people have a fear of their own sexuality.
Yeah.
People don't like, I mean, and here's the funny thing. In the U.S., we are a sexually repressed culture, society.
That's where I was getting at.
You go to Europe, it's way different. I mean, everywhere in Europe and some places in the Caribbean, you got topless beaches, boobs everywhere. Here in the U.S., no, it's like you go there, nobody cares.
Very random, yeah.
Right, but here, people are ashamed of the human form. People are sexually repressed, and that's what makes porn such a big deal here. Not so much. I mean, think about what people show on TV in other parts of the world versus what is shown on TV here.
Right.
You know, what we see here, Skinamax After Dark, is very different. That's daytime TV in certain places in Europe. It's not a big deal.
Right.
You know? And I think that's why porn has gotten such a bad rap. Instead of it, and it started out as a grimy industry, and then it's, like you said earlier, it's become a little more mainstream. And so a lot of these actors and actresses are starting to make a little bit more money and are now starting to make that crossover from adult film to mainstream film.
Yeah. Well, they have studio houses now and high-end studio houses.
I mean, you got like Vivid. You got all these big.
And they're not even in the
they're not
ranks
even the biggest.
anymore.
No. I mean, you look at, we were looking at the top, the top, what you call it, porn sites.
Yeah.
And they're huge.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, all of them, the ones that we saw that were like 1, 2, 3, 4, they're not actual either. They're more platforms. They're hubs. So everybody's shooting video and sending it there versus bless you. But everybody's shooting video to come there, or they're taking clips, or everybody creates accounts.
But anybody can put their stuff up.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got all these amateurs.
Yeah, and then of course you're getting more advertisements. So advertisement dollars shoots it up. So you get a little ad in between each one.
Dude, it's a
multi-billion
dollar industry.
I can only imagine.
I don't even know that you can calculate how much money is made off of that industry.
No.
From print to, I mean, check this out. Somebody said this to me the other day. They're like, you could even consider the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue as a form of porn.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me, y'all. But the reason why.
It's the vodka.
Right?
He's out of vodka drinking.
but the reason why is because if it's something that stimulates a sexual fantasy or excitement, it's considered pornography. But nobody wants to think of it that way. Nobody cares. Nobody cares how you describe it.
No.
If you don't feel ashamed because you enjoy seeing certain things.
Well, think about ESPN magazine. They created the nude edition. So they're, instead of just showing just women athletes, they're showing women and men.
Yeah.
But they're nude, so you're trying to show the human form or athletic form.
And that should be appealing to people.
But it is actually increasing a level of sexual excitement within the athletic realm.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
If your wife wanted to do an OnlyFans, would you let her?
Yeah.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Make that money, girl.
Yeah.
I don't need to be in it, right?
No.
Good. So I don't need to be in it. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. I will pull out the DSLR camera.
Yeah.
Make sure the videos are high quality. Yeah.
Yeah. But people that have problems with it, like we were talking earlier about the school teacher who got during the pandemic, the school teacher who had an OnlyFans, and I think the school board fired her because one of the parents, the dads, saw it. And here's my guess. He got busted watching Lil Johnny's teacher on
I guarantee
on
you
OnlyFans.
that's what happened.
And the wife got pissed off and was like, we don't want a teacher that is doing this kind of thing. What kind of example is she showing? Well, your elementary student doesn't know she's on OnlyFans because they don't have access. So the only way they know is if you and your husband tell your kid they're on OnlyFans. You just didn't want your husband looking at it.
Right.
And then going to school wondering why he wants to go to all the parent-teacher conferences. He's taking time off work to show up.
Yeah.
But that's a problem between you and your husband, and you shouldn't have made it a problem with the teacher.
You know what makes all of it interesting? I'm just going to say it because, we talk about everything. The church.
Yep.
It folds the blanket over, but it never talks about what's going on underneath the blanket.
100%. And the church tries to make it seem like a sin when they're the biggest heathens.
Yeah. What you naturally do in human form.
Right.
But we can sit and watch
fornicating.
We can sit and watch animals do it on camera, on TV. But the human form, no.
The human animal can't do it.
No. We're too sophisticated.
But yet we sexualize one another on a daily basis.
Yeah. Why is it interesting? You go to the beach and you see a woman, and I always say a woman because they're wearing bikinis. You see a woman in a bikini at the beach, and you're like, yeah, whatever. But you see a woman in a pair of tight jeans, or you can see her thong through her leggings or whatever, and you go, "Oh my goodness, what is it about those triggers?" It's like there's so many different triggers, and they create a level of excitement or whatever.
Yes.
And if that woman was wearing a bikini in the store, you're like, "She crazy. What's wrong with her wearing a bikini?" But if a woman's wearing that thong through the leggings that you can see, and she intentionally wore that, you're like, "Oh." Funny how the brain works in those moments.
Well, here's something else interesting. Why is it, and I'm only speaking from a man's point of view, what is it about a woman in a thong that's more exciting than if she were just standing there naked? You know what I mean? It's
everybody's trigger. Everybody has different triggers. But that one is
it's one of those.
It's across the board.
Yeah, it's like there's something about a woman in a thong,
or your woman in one of your shirts.
Exactly. She's got on one of your shirts.
That's it. T-shirt,
whatever.
Long dress shirt. Doesn't
She's fully
matter.
covered up, but you're looking at her like,
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's these things. So people don't realize that it has to be raunchy to be considered porn. It has to be, S&M. I'm tied up.
Right.
Whips and chains.
Yeah. No.
I'm spitting in her face and doing all this. No, that's not. That's a whole nother aspect of some shit that people like.
Yeah.
But everybody has. I say this because everybody has their thing.
Everybody has their thing.
And even the most prude still has their thing. That dude who may be a square has that one thing he likes. He likes, like we were talking about earlier, what if that person just likes, I like the left earlobe and just how it curves.
Just
then
keep
that's
showing it to
keep
me.
showing me that left earlobe.
Yeah. Was that drool?
Right, exactly. And that's considered porn.
But the bottom line is we all have to consider we're all sexual beings.
Yes.
And we have to stop denying ourselves that ability to be a sexual being. It's the abuse of our sexual being that tends to get in the way.
Too much of anything is a problem.
And that is definitely an American thing. It's like
excess.
Think about when we're talking about, you look at people that do steroids or testosterone or whatever. Listen, we got
to replenish your low level.
Yeah.
Great. Then you're going to have excess.
Yeah.
And your nuts shrivel.
But you look at like America, it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to do a little bit. But like, oh no, if I do this much, I think about how much I'll double. Everything becomes over excessive.
Exactly.
So when we get into porn, you watch porn, sometimes it can get over excessive. It takes over your life versus it being a part of your life.
And what's interesting, what people also don't realize is that people always think of watching porn as an individual sport. Not necessarily. Watch porn with your spouse.
Right.
Find out what she likes. Show her what you like. Let you see what she's into, and you'd be surprised at how your partner you may realize, oh shit, this is how we can spice things up because now I'm understanding what turns her on.
Yeah. Because guess what?
Because most of the time we don't ask what turns you on. So if you want to say, hey, I'm just kind of curious, what kind of porn do you watch? I don't watch porn. Well, how about we watch some together and we just kind of look at the categories and we see what, oh, I don't like that. Oh, that's kind of cool. Let's watch that. And like we talked about earlier, what men like category-wise versus what women like is very different. We talked about how women, their top category is lesbian porn. Their second top category is threesomes. And it's really interesting. And their third was like gangbangs.
But I wonder if that is of interest because they're trying to be a performance for the man or thinking that's what he desires versus what they believe, like what they're really into.
Well, the thing is, they're watching this without men around.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? But a lot of times what I've found in many ways, they try to find something that resembles what they would like to see within their relationship or what they think might their partner be interested in within.
But think about this, and here's why I think lesbian porn strikes it home with women, and I wish there was a woman here that we could have this conversation with, but a lot of women, whether they admit it to you or not, love the female form.
Yes.
And
sometimes they hate on it because they love it.
Right. And they love the sensual aspects of that type of pornography, which in contrast, and one of the other things they looked at, so the top four, I think, were lesbian porn, threesomes, I think gangbang was in there, and then dudes with big dicks. You look at men, which was interesting, two of their top three were MILF porn and maturity, which is kind of interesting, right? And then you look at what they think we like is two women was way down on the list.
And one of the ones that has been, from what I understand, what we were looking at earlier, hentai.
Yeah, hentai was a big one.
You wouldn't have thought it. I don't know.
Women getting, cartoon women getting ravaged by like octopus tentacles, and it's weird. Just like weird off the wall stuff.
Yeah.
Here's the funny thing, and contrary to popular belief out there, in the top 10 of both men and women, S&M porn was nowhere on there.
Right.
But people think, people like to see people in whips and chains. Those are fetishes, and fetish porn was not listed in the top 10.
And fetish porn is not something they look at, they participate in.
Exactly. It's not a visual thing. And so don't look down on pornography. The whole thing, the whole reason why we wanted to do this episode was because we want to talk about how people will take what they watch or see and try to translate it into reality when that is not based on reality.
Right.
It's fantasy for a reason. Keep it fantasy. You know, it can be an addiction like any other drug because it hits those same funky receptors in your brain that stimulates you and get you excited.
It's a dopamine kick.
Yeah, and can be a problem. And keep our youth away from it. You're not gonna be able, with access to everything now. Everybody's got a cell phone. You're not gonna be able to prevent them from seeing it.
Yeah.
But at least talk to them about it. Talk to your kids about it.
Think about it. It says, I'm over 18. Sure.
You know?
And you just click it and you're
right
in.
Yeah, but talk to your kids about it and let them know the detriments of why they shouldn't watch it all the time. Because if you tell teenage boys, you keep doing this, you're going to have a hard time getting it up. They're going to be like, oh, shit. And it's going to be a problem when they start having relationships with women or men or whoever they're going to have relationships with. It's going to start really impacting their ability to relate because in their brain, they're equating sex with porn.
I was going to say, just wait till you get old so that way it'll just come natural.
Right?
You're like, oh, here we go.
And porn was built for those times when your spouse isn't in the mood, male or female. You go and rub one out and call it a day. You know? But don't try to shame people either for being in that industry. Stop shaming people who have OnlyFans. You know, don't be mad that they're making a ton of money off people sexualizing them. And a lot of people do.
I know.
You know, if you thought you were beautiful and you put on some lingerie and let people buy pictures of you in lingerie, you know what? Good for you.
Right.
If you're making money, yes, that's 1,000% against the big feminist movement. But the feminist movement is to better yourself. And if you're making money and becoming your own boss, you're taking control of how people sexualize you.
Think about it, and there's only going to be a handful that are making millions, but think about the ones, there are a lot of people that are making well over 200,000-300,000 a year.
Yeah, that's a good living.
300,000 to 500,000.
Dude, that's the top 1%.
Bro.
Give me an OnlyFans.
Oh, bro.
Anybody want to see my feet?
Want to see my left knuckle?
Right? I got a pinky toe that's off the chain. Like literally, it sticks out like that. But no, I'm serious. It's like, don't shame people for doing stuff that you just wouldn't do. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not for you.
Matter of fact, why don't you start having conversations with everyone?
Yeah.
Like, what made you do that? Interesting. I would like to know. No, I'm not asking you to shame me. I'm asking because I'm interested in understanding, like, the brain codes. That's my thing. I love that. I like knowing why people do that. Yeah.
Exactly.
And just listen to it because it's interesting.
Yeah, right?
Everybody goes to a different place. That's a beautiful. That's the beautiful thing about being a human being.
And I think it's so great when people can be in their own space and uninhibited.
Yeah.
I like people just saying, fuck it, and just, you know what? I'm gonna show you all of me and do my little quirky thing. Do whatever. You know, just because I'm in my space and this is the place where I can let go. I may not be able to do it in public because I'm shy in public or I'm withdrawn, but I can get into this world and really open up. Yeah. I've had friends of mine who say, yeah, I do this because it allows me to feel sexy. Yeah. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. Yeah. Where out in the real world, you may be heavier or you may not be considered what people find the Model S type. But then you get on OnlyFans and people find, you got people subscribing to you and people find you sexy. You're like, oh shit, this helps my self-esteem. So when I go out in the real world, I've now built my self-esteem and nobody knows why.
You've recreated yourself.
Exactly. Cool, man. This was I like this one. Lighthearted, but
but we want to continue to bring to you the things that need to be brought up in the world. Like, stop ducking and dodging and running away from things that are of importance, of value, of you becoming a better human being.
We need to have these conversations.
Yes.
You know, people need to stop shaming people all the time for living their life.
living your best life.
Right, exactly. Stop busting on people because they're making money.
Just go bust it.
I mean, Black China, $20 million a month, girl. Do whatever it is you're doing.
Stop playing.
Handle your business. Do you,
man? Look,
man. We out. Let's move on. This cocktail.
Listen, CoachKJ.com. At Coach KJ knows on Instagram. Where they
You're going to find me at Leonel Hunt. You're also going to find me at huntspine.com and thehuntfoundation.org. You'll get everything Coach and Doc on podcastsoe.com. And check us out on Instagram at SOE_podcast, y'all.
We out. Yeah.